The Flood are officially back in Halo, guys, with Halo Wars 2 Awakening the Nightmare DLC. Be sure to watch all the cutscenes linked down below. And to celebrate this awesomeness with the Flood returning, we burrowed down deep into the lore of this deadly parasite to uncover some of the most interesting and downright demonic secrets of the infection. So, let's get into it. At number 5, Precursor Dust. The Precursors were the dominant race in the galaxy millions of years ago in the Halo lore. You could even say that they were the gods of the galaxy, and they stayed that way till one of their creations, the Forerunners, got upset with them for not being selected to hold the mantle of responsibility. So the Forerunners chased off or killed every last one of the Precursors, but something happened that nobody could see coming. Some Precursors chose to take the form of a dust-like substance in hope of later returning to their natural form, but this isn't what happened at all. The dust was twisted and mutated into early stages of what we know now as the Flood. So yes, all those Flood that you've killed in Halo were holding the remnants of the ancient Precursors and their genetic makeup. For a time, the Flood was still capable of remembering they were once the Precursors, and they actively sought revenge on those who wronged them. But time chipped away at which was left of the Precursors, and soon all that was left was the starving Flood abominations, and of course, the grave mines. At number 4, initial dust effects on life forms. So when ancient humans first discovered the Precursor dust, the remnants of the Precursors, they deemed it to be harmless. But just like any good human, they eventually started testing this new substance on small animals. For small domestic animals at that time were actively given the substance, and at first it seemed that it made the creatures more docile and friendly, but they didn't know what else was going on in the animals' bodies. The furry creatures started to have mutations occur, like furry growths and protruding flesh, and then the creatures started to eat each other, and that's when the scientists were like, ah shit, we fucked up. Those who had been researching the creatures soon started to suffer from the same mutations and mental breakdowns, becoming more like zombies than even the Flood we all know. They consumed all the Faru and then moved on to force-feeding the uninfected until they reached gross levels of proportions. The outbreak had started, and almost nobody or anything would be able to stop the oncoming Flood infection. At number 3, the invasion strategy of the Flood. So when we look at modern day terrorists, for example, we see that most of the time they choose to blend in with the crowd or the norm population before they attack, and the Flood operated very similarly at times. One of their most evil strategies in invading and infecting a planet was to cram a civilian vessel full of infection and combat forms and send them through a planet's orbital defenses straight towards the surface. Disguising themselves as civilians allowed them to get by with no conflict and unleash a surprise attack that was rarely ever able to be stopped, and all would be consumed. At number 2, the craziness of key mines. So we all know that the Flood can consume life forms, obviously, but did you know that entire planets can succumb to the infection? Well, yes, they can, and it's more interesting than you would ever imagine. Once a planet is mutated and covered in Flood, it is basically a giant supercomputer capable of things that even the best Forerunner AI couldn't do. These biological ubercomputers were able to strategize and plot in ways that constantly kept the Forerunners on their toes. All the wisdom and knowledge consumed on the planet was being used against those that the Flood wished to devour, basically turning the relative feral natural Flood forms into a single thinking being with superb coordination and tactical prowess, much like with the Gravemind. At number 1, the disgusting truth and reality behind a Flood infection. Infection processes over all genres and franchises, and it's usually always disgusting and unsettling. But the Flood may just be one of the most gruesome processes in all of storytelling and infection. Once an infection form attaches itself on a victim, it burrows its tentacles deep inside the body core, reaching to the spine, and this is usually the result in almost instant death. And this is when the real sick shit starts to happen. Eyeballs begin to grow tentacles and pop out of the body tissue begins to tear and rip, and giant protrusions explode all over the body. The loud pop of bones collapsing and breaking can be heard far away. It really isn't something you would ever want to see or be a part of in real life, and the video games, quite honestly, don't really give it justice because it is far disturbing than we realize. Your own nervous system would be taken over and the flood forces its way into the cavities of your body. Imagine seeing your skin crawl and shift as tiny tentacles work their way through your veins and nervous system, then suddenly exploding out of your skin in a flurry of blood, guts, and flood juice. If you want to see how it feels to be infected, just use bath salts. I'm kidding. Please don't. So guys, what do you think about Jacob's list of the top 5 flood secrets? Be sure to let us know down in the comments below. We are sure happy to see that the flood are returning in Halo Wars 2 with the Awakening the Nightmare DLC. The cutscenes have been amazing. I'm so happy I've been able to use them in this video. The flood haven't really got a good cutscene like ever, so it's so nice to see these new flood forms coming into Halo, and all this exciting stuff is just making me so excited for Halo 6. So let me know what your thoughts are about all this down in the comment section below. Be sure to drop this video a like if you ended up enjoying, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.